This is episode 16, verb phrases. So back in video 13, we looked at some example sentences in order to identify the verbs in those sentences. Let's pull them out again here now. We have, the cat rubbed her back against the chair leg. She is seeing him tomorrow. She will be eating spaghetti. The world is a beautiful place, and I like sushi. Now we've still got markings on the page here. There's V for verb with subtext L, and that's to represent the lexical verb. And there's V for verb with subtext A to represent the auxiliary verbs. I can now put a line underneath the verb, all verbs together, like this. So this line represents the verb phrase. Sometimes there is just one verb underlined, and sometimes there are two or even three verbs underlined. But either way, it's the verb phrase. Now back in video 11, we looked at this lovely sentence. The X Factor must have been being watched by millions of viewers that night. So let's go ahead and mark once again the verbs in it. So we have must as an auxiliary verb, have as an auxiliary verb, been as an auxiliary verb, being is an auxiliary verb, and watched is our lexical verb. And I can put a line underneath all of those. Must have been being watched. And there is a super long verb phrase of 5 verbs, 4 auxiliary and 1 lexical. Now we could probably stick an also or a not in there to make it even longer. The X Factor must not have been being watched by millions of viewers that night, or the X Factor must also have been being watched by millions of viewers that night. But, well, I mean, who talks like that anyway? Well, actually, I shouldn't be so flippant. The truth is that there is a lot of literature on what constitutes a verb phrase, because the structure of the sentence is heavily influenced by the verb, and it's quite difficult to agree on where the verb phrase begins and where it ends. Or maybe it begins at one verb, but it's hard to know where it ends. At its most basic, however, the verb phrase are the auxiliary and lexical verbs, and that's what we've been looking at. Whether adverbs like also and not are considered part of this verb phrase is under some dispute. Now, I don't think that this vodcast here is the forum to engage in this conversation. For our purposes, if an adverb sneaks its way in between the verbs, I'm still going to put a big line under all of it and mark it as the verb phrase. But I'm also going to label the adverbs really clearly on the top. Let's take a look at how I might go about doing that. I am not very pleased with you. So in this sentence, am is our auxiliary verb, and pleased is our lexical verb, and not and very are our adverbs. So I'm going to clearly mark along the top what each one is, and then here's our verb phrase. And I am actually going to include those adverbs in this verb phrase just because for our intents and purposes it will suffice. So look, the point of this very short video is to show you that the verb does have an equivalent verb phrase, although its constitution is somewhat disputed. We're going to be happy with this basic explanation and push on to the next video, where we will move away from the verbs completely and onto adjectives. So until then, thanks for watching The Language Code. It's easy, and I recognise that it's disputed, but that's the choice that I've made to do that.